Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 15th of February 2019, guys, so welcome to this Friday's morning session. Welcome to the last trading day of this week. So I hope you had a great one already. So yep, let's see how the markets perform today. The usual stuff which we're gonna do is of course look at the charts, but before we look at that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is Nasdaq100. Now looking at this index and looking at this daily chart, Nasdaq was the only one that from the three top US US indices was the one that kind of closed in the positive territory yesterday. A little bit, of course, not much, but still remained in a positive territory. Whereas we know that Nasdaq and the Dow and the S&P closed in the red, slightly, of course, but still in the red. So looking at this picture, you can see that yep, there is still some potential for this one to travel higher. And if we look at the 4-hour chart, you can see that this is where the index is stuck right now. So it's currently kind of stuck between these two lines. Let's put it that way: a horizontal, a resistance area around the 7,040 level, and of course this upside support line running from the low of the 24th of December. So for now, of course, guys, we're going to remain neutral. We're just going to continue observing this. We're going to wait for that confirmation break first, and then we will target higher levels. So basically a nice good pop above the 7,400 level could open the path again towards the 7,107 approximately there, which was the high near the highs of December 3rd. We will target that one, but if the buying activity remains strong, then yep, we will continue dragging this one, dragging our take profit towards the 7,205 level. But that's of course in the scenario only if we're gonna get a nice good pop above the 7,040 level. On the in a way, you could also kind of round it up towards a nice beautiful number of 7,050 if that kind of helps you more. But yep, just the main point here is just to kind of be very cautious and of course have your stop loss in place, guys. On the downside, if this suddenly drops below this upside support line and starts breaking the 6,968 level approximately there, which was near the lows of yesterday and near the lows of the 6th of February here, or should I say the yeah, I do apologize. Yes, I somehow started doubting myself here. Yes, it was the low of the 6th of February as well. So basically, this is quite an interesting and important level, the 6,968 approximately there. A nice good drop below this could open the gate towards slightly lower levels. This is where we will aim for the 6,865, or just slightly below that. We do have this little low that we saw here back on the 8th of February, and it was near the 6,840 levels. So keep your eyes on that one, guys. So like I said, it's only about 20 points difference here, around there, but still could be a good area for a test and could be a good area to see maybe a little rebound back up here. But again, I'll repeat myself, for the downside, we need to see a nice good break below this upside support line and also a drop below the 6,968 area approximately there. And for the upside, we're still looking for that 7,040 level. Break above that could open the path towards higher levels. Jumping into gold. Now gold is having a nice move here, kind of trying to push back up, and looking at the formation that's happening right now, looking at today's trading, you can see it's very bullish here. It's kind of currently near the yesterday's highs, and of course, if this continues to push higher and manages to break this 1316 level that I was talking about in one of my videos this week, so this is when it could become a little bit more interesting for more bulls, and we could see more of them jumping in and potentially driving this one back up towards the highs that we saw here back on the 31st of January, and that was approximately around the 1326 level. So yep, for now, guys, the formation that's happening here right now is looking more bullish than bearish. Also, given the fact that it's trading above the pivot, certainly that adds a bit of support for the positive outcome here. But again, like I say, for a better confirmation of the upside, wait for a break of the 1316 level first, and then we'll aim for higher areas. You can see that yesterday the commodity managed to drive lower here, almost managed to reach this upside support line, or maybe on your chart you do have a touch already there, but nevertheless it was around that area from which it reversed back up sharply and pushed higher. So that's why, guys, it seems that this upside support line continues to play out. But again, if this suddenly decides to reverse sharply and drops below this upside support line, and also drops, now we can actually shift a little bit our support breaking point. If this decides to drop below the 1302 area approximately there, now this is where it could turn out to be quite ugly for this precious metal, as we could then see further declines. Of course, initially we're still going to aim for this little level here around the 1297, but if that fails to withhold, then yep, I mean, it could be opening the path towards much lower levels, and the area, this is where we will target the 1286 zone, or even lower. But for now, of course, what we're seeing here is more positive than negative, and but for better confirmation, we need this pop above the 1316 level. Jumping into euro dollar now, this is now very interesting, because looking at this 4-hour chart, you can see that it's now trading above the pivot for today's pivot, and currently balancing around this 112.90 level that I was talking about in one of my previous videos. So in a way, of course, it found good support, and let me just adjust a few lines here. So yes, initially this week we had a drop below this key level of support here at the 1270, but you can see that the pair quickly found support near the 112.50 area, approximately there, maybe just a few ticks lower, but still it kind of rebounded from there, and now it's kind of trying to push higher. At this point, to be honest, we're going to remain neutral, but from the very short-term perspective, let's say if this starts pushing above these yesterday's highs, which are near the 113.10, now this is where it could become interesting, because we could then target the 113.40 or even a 50, or even actually this upside support line that we continue to keep it on our chart, even though it was violated a few times, but still we're going to keep on monitoring it in the future and see how the pair kind of trades around it. So in a way, that's what I'm saying. So guys, for now, from the very short-term perspective, if this decides to travel further up here, that's wonderful, but for a better confirmation of the upside, at least from the short-term perspective, a jump above the 113.10, that's what we need to see here, and then we'll target the 113.40 or 50. On the downside, if this decides to reverse back down and drops below the 112.70, certainly this could create a bit of, or should I say, this could raise concerns in the bull block, and but the only thing is that for a better confirmation of the downside, to be honest, we would probably like to see a drop below the 112.50, below these lows, this week's lows, and then yeah, we could target lower areas like the 112.25 or the 15, just because a break below the 112.50 could confirm a forthcoming lower low. And yep, for now, guys, probably it's better to remain neutral and just to kind of observe some of these key areas. And like I said, on the upside, what we are watching for is the 113.10. On the downside is, of course, the 112.50. USDJPY, now this is a bit tricky, and yes, it did have a nice push higher, but basically in one of my videos that I was talking about this week about USDJPY, I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little short-term, in a way, tentative upside support line that has been running here from the low of the 31st of January, and you can see that we did have a nice push lower. We're now the pair is now trying to push back and test this upside support line from underneath. Of course, that's going to be the big question, if it will manage to get back above it or not. To be honest, for us, let's say for today, what we need to continue observing here is this pivot. So basically, even if we see it this one, the pair traveling back above this upside support line, we need to see a push back above the pivot, and this way we could potentially get more comfortable with the upside. We could then target the 110.80, or even actually go towards the this week's highs near the 111.1314 area, approximately there, guys. So for now, long story short, basically that's what we're going to be looking for, the upside. But for in terms of the downside, if this fails to drive above this upside support line, if we see many rejections here, then we could see maybe the bears stepping in and potentially driving this this pair back down towards this psychological 110 level. So, and which also coincides with looking at this 4-hour chart, of course, coincides with the 200 EMA, and also not far from the 100 EMA. So be very careful, keep your eyes on that one, and let's see how this plays out today. Jumping into GBPUSD, now this is looking slightly worse than the euro dollar. So let's put it that way. Yesterday it broke below this, also maybe a tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 12th or the 11th of December, no, probably more the 11th of December, and it's now trading below it. Certainly at the same time it's trading below this downside resistance line as well, short term of course, but still trading below it. So, and what another negative aspect of all this is that it's currently sitting still below the pivot. I do understand that we still have a full day of trading going ahead of us, but keep an eye on this pivot here, which is around the 128.16 level. And this I was talking about this level in one of my previous videos as well this week when I was covering GBPUSD. So the 112.16.15 area, that's an important one to watch. So if you can see that the pair already tried to push above it but kind of failed. So in a way, this creates this bearishness, at least in the for the short term. We could see maybe this one sliding lower towards the S1, which is around the 127.55 area, approximately there. But if it continues to slide further down, a much better area of potential support could be seen near the 127.10, which is also not far, well, around the S2 of today's S2. So basically, guys, long story short, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way wait until this drives below this area here around the 127.90. Of course, don't forget to have your stop loss in place, and this is when, like I said, we will target the S1 first and then the S2. But for now, we're just gonna continue monitoring it, because for us, let's say, to consider the upside again, it wouldn't be enough. Yes, from the short-term perspective, basically, if this drives up back above this tentative upside support line, then yeah, we could target higher levels. But for better confirmation, we need to see a nice good pop above this downside resistance line, and also a break of the 129.25 level, and only then we'll aim for levels like the psychological 130 or above. But for now, certainly looking at this picture, it seems to be more bearish than bullish. But if you want, you can, like I said, I mean, probably, I wouldn't say even if you want, the suggestion here is to probably, for a better confirmation, wait for a drop below the 127.90, and then you could potentially target lower levels. So yeah, guys, for now, of course, like I said, but don't forget to have your stop loss in place. I'll have to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful. And if you want to join me later on in my traders tea time, and that's 14:15 GMT time. But for now, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful trading session, and don't forget to have your stop loss in place, guys. Always have that. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.